Georgia Spotlight. What do you need to know? What questions do we need to ask? Is this schedule really as soft as it seems? Maybe not. Maybe not. So let's dive in. First question I have with Georgia is how solid is this stable of wide receivers? Because there's an argument to be made that even losing Kyrus Jackson, certainly losing A.D. Mitchell, who was present in every playoff game, maybe it could be the best room that they've had there. Maybe. So they got Dom Lovett from Missouri in the portal. They got Ra Thomas from Mississippi State in the portal. But also Ladd McConkey's still there. It's like Athens Hunter Renfrow at this point for all the obvious reasons. They got Marcus Rosemary Jack Saint still there. But those two transfers, along with Arian Smith, it's a really dynamic, it's a diverse receiver room. It's not all the same guy. There's a uniqueness in each skill set. I look at McConkey. He was their leading receiver last year at the receiver position. 58 catches, 763 yards. There's a 1,000-yard receiver in here. There's potential for several of them, but I'm saying there's at least one in that room. And you have to take into account the tight end position with a guy like Brock Bowers there. But I'm going to talk about tight end in a second. The second question I have is, will Georgia have elite pass rush? That doesn't always mean you have to have one elite edge rusher. But I sat down with Kirby 2.5 weeks ago, and I wanted to know, forget preview magazines, where is your biggest concern? And he actually spelled it out. Colin?
Look past the quarterback position, because everyone's talking about that. What are 2 or 3 of the focal points or maybe hinge points you're looking at saying that'll determine whether we're right back in Atlanta in December?
You start with the quarterback, which you did. I think outside of that, it's going to be a lot of the same things that always come up. Can we not give up explosive plays on defense, but yet still affect the quarterback? We lost some guys in Nolan and Jalen that really affected the quarterback. That's one of my major concerns is, can we get to the quarterback? Do we have elite pass rushers, or do we have to create it another kind of way and reinvent yourself? We got good defensive players, but I don't know if we got the guys on the edge and interior that we've had in the past.
Now, everyone ignores that when you've won the last 2 national championships, and they think it just happens. I know I sound like a coach a little bit right now. It doesn't just happen. I think most people are smart enough to understand that, but yet when you go to set your expectations, it's taken as like legit disrespect. In my home state, where I'll be later tonight, by the way, in my home state down in Georgia, you cannot suggest they're going to lose a football game this year and be looked at as anything other than a hater. Well, there's a good reason for that. They're going to be favored in every game. This is a really good team. That'd be number 1 on my preseason ballot. Did I fill one out yet? Well, if I haven't, I will. They're going to be number 1, though. So I think extremely highly of them. But the point is, matchups. That's how you end up losing games. So if he's right, well, if let's say Kirby Smart's biggest fear is realized, and this is even before injury could creep in, if they just possess average ability to pressure the quarterback by their standard, that's enough to open the gate. To open the gate for Ole Miss to push you out of nowhere, or to open the gate for Tennessee and Neyland to push you out of nowhere. My point is, that's how that stuff happens. You never see the losses coming. You never see them coming with elite teams. We hardly ever predict these teams to lose games. Doesn't mean they're immune to losing. I didn't predict Alabama to lose to Tennessee last year. They lost to Tennessee, didn't they? And we were there. Got our hands on that goalpost just like half of Knoxville did that night. Question number 3. People get mad when I say I was there because I keep saying I was there, so I'm just going to keep saying I was there. Colin was there too. I wasn't alone. Productivity at the quarterback position. Really obvious, but it is a question at Georgia. When I say Georgia quarterback last year, you think of Stetson Bennett, right? And when I say Georgia quarterback this year, you probably think of Carson Beck. It's about productivity, really. Sometimes when you're looking at the quarterback position, you get attached to the name of the guy, and sometimes even their personality can affect you. And so you develop either a like or a dislike, or you develop opinions. It's kind of like in politics. Like, I've never cared if the guy I vote for is likable. I just don't care. I care about policies, and that's it. I'm in the minority, though, but that's what I care about. Well, in quarterback play, I'd love for my guy to be an all-world citizen. I'd love that. But really what I'd love more is for him to be able to hit a far hash out on 3rd and 9. That's what I'd really love. And Stetson Bennett did it last year. So here's what I need. If you're gonna shot for shot replace him, I don't need another Stetson Bennett. What I need is 4,300 yards and 37 touchdowns. Heisman finalist. That's what he was. Whether you like him or not, that's what he was. So I'm not saying they have to match exact numbers to get quality quarterback play. But what I am saying is that's lofty. That's lofty. And when you say things like, well, Stetson Bennett won't be as hard to replace as like a Bryce Young or a Caleb Williams because he wasn't as good as them. Those are the numbers. I don't know what else to tell you. He was extremely good as a college football quarterback. So enter Carson Beck. He's the quarterback, or I presume he will be for Georgia. What kind of productivity do we get there? Am I right about their receiver room? Does he possess the ability to leverage that to their advantage? How much will that tight end room shine? I'm about to talk about them in a second. Cedric Van Pran returns at center. Confirmed he watches the show at SEC Media Days, except during the season, by the way. So I halfway appreciate that, sir. All that is just bubbling underneath the surface as fall camp opens there. What's the best position group on this team? You can look a lot of places, honestly, because a lot of these rooms would be your best position group on your team. I didn't go O-line. I could have gone linebacker. Really love Small Munden, by the way. I've always struggled to pronounce his name, Smale Munden, but I love him. I went tight end, and I'm going to tell you why. It is not just Brock Bowers. Do you understand? Well, Brock Bowers could be the best football player in the country, but if I removed him from Georgia, Georgia would still have one of the best tight end rooms in the country. And I don't think most of the college football public understands this. Oscar Delp is only a sophomore. Oscar Delp, if they wanted him to be, could be an All-American tight end. And then Lawson Lucky behind him could be a freshman All-American if they wanted him to be. They are insanely deep at tight end. In fact, I don't know how you get laws passed to this degree. I'm not exactly sure it should be legal to have tight end depth like Georgia has. Just gross, borderline unfair, but they got it. The breakout player this year, though, they know. Like, it's going to sound weird when I say this for a Georgia fan because they don't think of this as a breakout player. But the country doesn't know Mykel Williams yet. People from Columbus, Georgia do because he played at Hardaway, and Hardaway hadn't been exactly pumping him out down there. So when they had a 5-star defensive lineman, everyone took notice. And he has fulfilled, and I think this year really will fulfill on those lofty expectations. They've had so many studs come through there. He's been viewed as the next one since the day he stepped on campus. Like I said, if you live down in Ackworth, Georgia, you know about him. But if you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you may not know about him. But I think if you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma by week 6, you will know the name Mykel Williams. But I want to talk about Georgia's schedule for just a second, because this has been a point of contention. Like they're the ones who voluntarily canceled the Oklahoma game. Do you think Georgia plays a tough schedule this year? 99% of you say no. Several of you say it is a ridiculously soft schedule. I am not here to tell you this is a murderer's row by any stretch of the imagination, nor are Georgia fans. Look at the schedule Colin is showing you. Imagine being a season ticket holder. And that's before they announced they're going to close public access to the bridge. An egregious decision, by the way, for those involved there. But I want to ask you this. Pretend it's not Georgia for a second. Pretend this is Arkansas. What if I told you on this Georgia schedule, there are 5 opponents they play in the S&P Plus preseason top 30? You know, you think about how different that sounds all of a sudden. No, I'm not kidding you. You go look at Connolly. So if you want to disrespect Bill Connolly, go for it. But if you respect the guy's work, and pretty much everyone in the free-thinking world does, he's got Auburn 27th preseason, Kentucky 22nd, Florida 21st, Ole Miss 18, Tennessee 6. Georgia plays all of them. Here's the problem as it relates to Georgia's schedule being compared to everyone else in the SEC. Georgia only plays one preseason top 15 team in the S&P Plus. Every other team in the SEC plays at least 3 besides Vandy. So every other contender plays at least 3 or 4 top 15 teams. Georgia plays 1. That's the rub, because you know it really doesn't matter where Kentucky's ranked. It really doesn't matter where Auburn this year is ranked. If Georgia plays their A game, the fourth quarter will be unwatchable. You're actually, when we talk about schedule, kind of punishing them a little bit for being elite. I get why you're saying it the way you are. It's just always funny to me the way we talk about elite team schedules versus average team schedules. Because if that was Arkansas' schedule right there, you wouldn't call it a cupcake fest. You wouldn't call it a murderer's row, but you wouldn't call it what you call it with Georgia. However, they'll be favored, and favored big time in every one of those games. But like I said, where's the sneaky game on there to you? Kentucky after the trip to Auburn? Is it Ole Miss right before they go to Tennessee? Is it at Tennessee? Is it South Carolina in week 4? Imagine Spencer Rattler coming in there. Imagine Georgia already having a loss before they even go on the road. Georgia with a loss already before they go into October. Or Georgia winning by 20 plus every week. All of it's on the table.